is what if I just burned my will on, and encrypted and inscribed my will onto Bitcoin, right? And it was going to convey $1 billion from one person to the other.
Hey guys, welcome back to Everyday Finance. In this video, Michael Saylor discusses about Bitcoin and crypto. Michael Saylor says, if your crypto network is regulated, Bitcoin will be the last network to operate. And as a result, people are starting to renew their interest in Bitcoin. And a lot of capital is migrating into the Bitcoin network. The combination of SegWit and Taproot laid the foundation for people to build more intricate and interesting applications on the Bitcoin network. But for a number of years, the developer community was focused on all the other cryptos, and that's because they were more profitable. And get to the point where people are starting to build material applications on it because Lightning was supported by venture capital. In the traditional manner, there was never a Lightning token issued that could be wash-traded by FTX in order to pump it to the moon. So with regard to ordinals and inscriptions, I think people are starting to ask the question, and in addition to moving money on the network, what else can I do on a crypto network if what I wanted was... What kinds of things do I want to be immutable for the next 100 years? And what Bitcoin represents is the most powerful cyber network, or the most powerful computer network in the world. If I gave you $100 billion and control of a nation state, and I told you you had 4 years to attack the Bitcoin network, you could try to buy up all the Shaw 256 mining rigs in the world, and then try to power them up. And if you succeeded after 4 years, you would have the most powerful computer. And lots of things Michael Saylor discussed, so please watch the video to end. And share, subscribe our channel, Everyday Finance. Thanks.
I think that what we're seeing is a migration of developer activity from the rest of the crypto ecosystem to the Bitcoin base layer. So there's been a lot of stuff done with NFTs and smart contracts and other ideas on all the other cryptos. What you're seeing is Bitcoin is emerging as the winner, and people realize it's the low risk network. When all your banks fail, when all your other cryptos get shut down, if it turns out that your cryptocurrency is regulated, if your crypto security is regulated, if your crypto network is regulated, Bitcoin is going to be the last network operating. And so people are starting to renew their interest in Bitcoin. A lot of capital is migrating into the Bitcoin network. The combination of SegWit and Taproot laid the foundation for people to build more intricate and more interesting applications on the Bitcoin network. But for a number of years, the developer community was focused upon all the other cryptos, and that's because they could issue tokens in order to finance their development. And so it was a fast money, easy money shortcut, and they were being boosted by the FTXs of the world, because FTX had infinite money. Now I think people are starting to ask the question, what's the ethically sound, technically sound, economically sound path forward? Okay. And that's a slower path. It took Lightning, for example, many, many years to gestate and get to the point where people are starting to build material applications on it, because Lightning was supported by venture capital in a conventional fashion. There was never a Lightning token issued that could be wash traded by FTX in order to pump it to the moon. So with regard to ordinals and inscriptions, I think people are starting to ask the question, in addition to moving money on the network, what else can I do on a crypto network if what I wanted was to burn a transaction that is immutable, share it on a ledger to the entire world, and know that it will last forever, right? What sort of things do I want to be immutable for the next 100 years? And what Bitcoin represents is it represents the most powerful cyber network, or the most powerful computer network in the world. If I gave you $100 billion and control of a nation state, and I gave you 4 years and said attack the Bitcoin network, you could try to buy up all the SHA-256 mining rigs in the world and then try to power them up. And if you succeeded after 4 years, you might be able to slow the network down, but you couldn't stop it, right? So it's very difficult to either stop the network, to undermine the network, and or to block a message. So that being the case, what's the killer app? Well, an obvious killer app is for me to send $1 billion from me to you and know that no nation state can block it. But the next set of applications are to embed any file or any message. If I just wanted to send a message worth $1 billion, right? Like there are messages worth $1 billion that aren't the money, but they're the message, right? The example I used the other day is, what if I just burned my will on, and encrypted and inscribed my will onto Bitcoin, right? And it was going to convey $1 billion from one person to the other. That's a pretty valuable document, and you probably wouldn't want it to be tampered with by your law firm or by a nation state or by a corporation. So the ordinals and the inscriptions, they created a burst of activity, and they created a bubble in transaction fees. I mean, transaction fees went all the way up to be equal to the entire block reward for a while this weekend. And now they're cooling off a bit. But I think, we had a period when you could do transactions for 1, 2, 3 sats per V byte. I don't think we're going to see those days again. I think we're going to actually see transaction fees that are 10x, 100x that. And then I think over time, you're going to see an avalanche of applications that will be built where the application needs to cryptographically sign and certify a piece of data that you want to last for all eternity. And you either want to burn it because you don't want anybody to tamper with it in 30 years, or you want to burn it because you don't want anybody to block the message from going from country A to country B, even though someone might want to censor it or block it. I'm saying this is going to definitely catalyze the development of layer 2s and 3s, no doubt. For example, if you wanted to move $100 right now, there's no way you should be doing it on the Bitcoin base layer. Anybody that wants to move $100, $50, buy a cup of coffee, $25, even $250, you should be doing that with Lightning, right? And we just had a conference last week, Lightning for Corporations. You're going to see an explosion of Lightning activity. Lightning would allow you to move money at the speed of light for 1/30th of a penny, right? Why would you want to wait 30 minutes and pay even $1, or much less $10 or $20? So I think that this catalyzes the adoption of Lightning. The exchanges like Coinbase and Binance were slow to adopt Lightning, but you notice that in the past few weeks, Coinbase has announced they're going to support it. This weekend, Binance announced they're going to support it. So I think this is going to catalyze every legitimate Bitcoin company to support Lightning. You can't really have a respectable Bitcoin offering if you don't have Lightning on-ramps and off-ramps. So yeah, I think that's going to explode. I think that usage of layer 3, like, Cash App, cash tag to cash tag, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Why not 8 billion people and they're moving money on layer 3s at 1 billion times an hour? And then the way I see it is, if it's inevitable that Bitcoin will be embedded in Apple Pay and Google Pay and Facebook apps and Microsoft apps. And, there's 50 million people using Cash App right now that have Bitcoin transactions built into them. So it's inevitable that billions and billions of people will do their daily transactions on those kind of application networks. The significance of Lightning is the open permissionless protocol that's going to be used to integrate 100,000 companies with each other. So when Cash App wants to interoperate with Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft across 100 countries, across 20,000 retailers, they're going to use Lightning because that's going to be like the money over IP protocol. Bitcoin is the base settlement layer. So let's go back to my example. People say, well, the transaction fees are too high. Okay, what is the transaction fee to transfer $10 million of an apartment in New York City from me to you? Right now, without considering tax, it's $600,000, David. It's 600,000, 6%, right? Is that stable? Yeah, there's a $300 trillion real estate market that where the transaction fee is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6% to convey real estate. What's the transaction fee to move gold, $10 million of gold from New York to Tokyo? It's $250,000. It's 2.5%. The transaction fee if I wanted to ship a yacht from the Caribbean to the Mediterranean, it's $250,000.